Vacationers land in jail after a fight over a golf cart and Disney tickets. Spruce Creeker arrested after allegedly hitting a service tech at a dealership. Villager's son arrested with drugs after he stopped for speeding. Unlicensed driver arrested after presenting a Mexican voter ID card. An 87-year-old allegedly attacks a woman with dementia at a postal station. Developer proposes opening 3 priority pools to residents of the villages. Villager with crack cocaine in a golf cart nabbed at Wawa. The AAC chair worried about increasing costs of community watch. It's not sustainable. Neighbors are upset about non-matching shingles on a home in the villages. The villager is livid over the ruling on paint job at deed compliance hearing. Plastic cover on roof, latest problem at abandoned home in the villages. How many holes in ones of golf did we get? Letters to the editor. This and more coming up. This week's news is brought to you by my Patreon and YouTube members. Thanks, guys. You're the best. Let's have some more news. We'll see what happens there. I'm still recovering a little bit, but I want to get the news out for everybody. Ladies from Missouri vacationing in Florida were arrested at a home in the villages after a fight over a golf cart and Disney World tickets. How pathetic. Officers were called at about 11 a.m. Monday to a home in Rudel Way in the village of Citrus Grove, where 28-year-old Gina Leah Danforth of Fenton, Missouri, and 31-year-old Catherine Northrup of St. Peters, Missouri, were staying while vacationing in Florida. Staying where? A rental? Mom and dad? Grandma and grandpa? The women were both reportedly upset over a golf cart and tickets to Disney World. The ladies' fracas included screaming, spitting, pushing, punching, and hair pulling. Such a ladylike way. The report noted the altercation occurred within the residence with numerous occupants inside. Numerous occupants inside. Is this a bed and breakfast? However, the officers were unable to identify the primary aggressor due to the lack of credible witnesses. Danforth was transported by ambulance to the UF Health, the village's hospital freestanding emergency room at Brownwood. She wanted to be seen because she was not feeling well. Too much to drink? Both women were arrested on misdemeanor charges of battery and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. They were later released after posting a bond. Such activity in a retirement community. Here's some news from Spruce Creek. A Spruce Creeker has been arrested after running into a service technician with his vehicle at a local car dealership. Frank Apaya, 82, who lives in Spruce Creek South Retirement Community in Summerfield, was in a service lane this past Thursday afternoon at the CDJR dealership, formerly known as Bill Bryan, on U.S. Highway 27 441 in Fruitland Park, when he apparently became impatient with the service technician, according to the arrest report from the Fruitland Park Police Department. A native New Yorker began to honk his horn and cuss at the service technician. The technician told Apaya he would need to leave. But when the service technician began to walk away, Apaya hit him with the vehicle's front right bumper. The service technician suffered 2 swollen knees, ouch, and a sharp pain in his leg. I smell a lawsuit. He said he may have slipped his foot onto the gas pedal. He was armed with a Black Label 1911 .380 caliber firearm, I don't know what that is, which was taken by law enforcement for safekeeping. Apaya was arrested on a charge of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, and yes, your car can be considered a deadly weapon. He was booked at the Lake County Jail and released after posting a $10,000 bond. I don't know what takes them out with these people anymore. They're just nuts. By the way, if I seem a little short-tempered on this news, let me just say I'm still under meds. I got more appointments that I got to go to the doctor. So I'm just doing this basically because I just feel like I should do this for my regular viewers. So there. And if you got something to say about what I just said, go ahead. A villager son with previous drug convictions in Connecticut was arrested with marijuana and loaded syringes after he was stopped for speeding. See, you got a drug addict son from Connecticut. He's got a record that you know he's a drug addict. He takes a lot of drugs, and yet you let him move in your house in a retirement community around a lot of other elderly people. Brian Leonard Griffin, 41, who lives with his father in the village of Sable Chase, was driving a gray 2006 Chevy Trailblazer at about 10:45 p.m. Saturday on U.S. Highway 301 when he was caught on radar traveling at 76 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone. During the traffic stop at Wawa, I think all the criminals end up at Wawa. If the cops want to really save themselves a lot of time and the police department want to save a lot of money, just go to Wawa. That's where it's all at. During a traffic stop at Wawa on 301, a deputy approached the vehicle and immediately detected a strong odor of marijuana. Griffin handed the deputy a medical marijuana card, but the deputy noted it had expired in 2021. Just because you have a medical marijuana card, are you stupid? Do you think everybody else is stupid? You still can't smoke marijuana while operating a motorized vehicle. Griffin was in possession of a jar which had several baggies of marijuana. A search of the vehicle has also turned up 2 syringes loaded with a yellow liquid which tested positive for THC. A scale and grinder were also found in the vehicle. A criminal history check revealed that the Bridgeport, Connecticut native had been convicted of a felony drug possession in 2012 and 2015 in Connecticut. Sounds like he's getting along just fine. He was arrested on drug possession charges and booked at some kind of detention center and was released after posting a $5,500 bond. Who posted that bond? Grandma and Grandpa? Here's a great one too. An unlicensed driver was arrested after presenting a Mexican voter identification card to a police officer after cutting off other motorists on 27 and 441. Jose Luis Jeso Diaz, change your name to Bob, 20, was driving a black Dodge Challenger at about 8 p.m. Thursday on Highway 27 441 at Oak Hill Road when he was changing lanes erratically and cutting in front of other vehicles, according to the arrest report from the Lady Lake Police Department. Lady Lake Police Department won't mess with you, and their bonds are significantly higher, as they should be, than Sumter County. But when it comes to illegal immigrants, it seems like nobody seems to know how to really take care of that. During a traffic stop, Bob handed a police officer his Mexican voter ID and admitted he did not have a driver's license issued in the United States. He claimed the vehicle belonged to a friend. That's a new thing. All of them that are getting pulled over now, I only report 1 or 2 here and there, but all of them now, when they get pulled over for whatever reason, the car belongs to a friend. I don't get all that, but it must work because they're all doing it. Bob could not provide his address. Now, I don't know what that means. Could Bob not provide his own address, or is he saying Bob could not provide the friend who supposedly owned this car's address? Because it should be on the registration, right? He was arrested on a charge of driving without a license. He was booked at the Lake County Jail and released after posting a $500 bond. An 87-year-old villager was arrested after he allegedly attacked a woman with dementia at a postal station. What the hell's the matter with you? Good Lord. Do you have dementia too? Just by looking at this picture, you've got some kind of problem. A 911 caller reported at about 5 p.m. Tuesday that a man later identified as Sidney Sokoloff was actively hitting a woman in the passenger seat of a vehicle at the Summer Hill Postal Station, according to the arrest report of Sumter County Sheriff's Office. A deputy arrived at the postal station and saw Sokoloff swinging at something inside the vehicle. The deputy ran over and put the Cleveland, Ohio native in handcuffs. The 82-year-old woman's hands had been bound with plastic string. She was covered in food with lettuce and tomatoes on her clothes and mustard smeared all on the right side of her face. There was sandwich food thrown all throughout the vehicle and food smeared marks on the front passenger window. The deputy concluded the woman had been banging on the window. The deputy found the woman had cognitive mental issues and later confirmed she suffers from dementia. The heavily redacted arrest report did not provide an explanation of Sokoloff's connection to the woman. He is the sole owner of his home in the Villages, and his Facebook page indicates he is widowed. Sokoloff, who has owned his home in the village of Summer Hill since 2016, has taught at Enrichment Academy in the Villages. His courses have included music appreciation, history, and a course entitled The Making of the Modern World, in which he takes on the challenges of pollution and climate change. He is a professor emeritus at the California State University in Los Angeles, according to the biography on the Amazon book site. His biography also indicates he spent 12 years giving destinations and general interest lectures on cruise ships all over the world. He was arrested on felony charges of battery and false imprisonment. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $1,000 bond. See what I mean? $1,000 bond. Just think about what I just read. He's beaten her. She's tied up. That's imprisonment. Won't let her out of the car. Food is everywhere. And who knows what else is going on, because they said the report was severely redacted, and he gets out on a $1,000 bond. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Are these judges around here chicken shit? Are they afraid to actually impose the law on somebody? Because in my mind, this guy should have been in jail, maybe been medically cleared, and no bond. Just wait until the judge sees you. The developer has proposed opening 3 priority pools to residents of the Villages during a demolition and reconstruction of the Paradise Recreation Center and the family pool. But there's a catch. The developer would open up the Orange Blossom Hills, Glenview, Lopez Country Club pools during the anticipated 2-year Paradise Recreation Center replacement project. Originally, it had been suggested that the Orange Blossom Hills pool would be the lone pool to be offered, although a priority pool member objected to the idea. Let me stop there. You newbies that come down here and bought the priority pool memberships, and that is the rule today, you got nothing to complain about. Talk to the people up there that bought their houses up there in the 80s, maybe early 90s. That was a neighborhood pool. That's where you went with your friends, but no children were allowed. That was their pool. And then in the middle of all that, as they decided they were going to close down Katie Bell's for residents also, they changed that pool. So, oh no, we're going to have this priority program. More money to put in our pockets. More money. So they took that pool away from the people that bought there, and maybe they bought locally because they wanted to go to that pool every day. We don't know, but they bought up there for whatever their reasons are. Now all of a sudden that pool, if they want to go to it, they got to pay. They never had to for years. Now all of a sudden they got to pay. Now I know things change and things, move around a lot. But you want to talk about somebody that took another slap in the face? Just think about that. First they took their pool away from them, and then they went over and took Katie Bell's away from everybody. So they got a right to bitch. You newbies down here with your priority stuff, you need to take your bitch to the developer. He's the one that decided to do all this. The residents didn't have no say-so. And really, truthfully, today, to be fair, we still have no say-so about any of this. You might think you do not. The developer is asking that the Amenity Authority Committee, which oversees amenities north of County Road 466, pick up the cost of the maintenance and utilities at the 3 priority pools during the project. It has been estimated that could cost the AAC about $239,000 a year. Now, he's taking the pools away from us. You got to buy a membership to get there. Now he's like a gift. He's saying, okay, I'm going to open it up to the public now where you guys can go in there now, but I want you to pay the maintenance for all these pools every year for the next 2 years. But he's still collecting the priority memberships, even though they don't really have a priority membership anymore. I think he owes people money. We don't owe anything. AAC Chair Donna Kempa noted that the AAC would be looking at an additional expense of nearly $500,000 over 2 years. She said she is also worried about usage. The Orange Blossom Hills pool is already very popular and heavily used, she said. She's skeptical that historic side residents impacted by the Paradise Pool closing would make the trek to Glenview or Lopez. If residents are willing to travel that distance, they might as well visit the pools owned by the district, Kempa reasoned. She suggested that in the beginning there might be a novelty to the use of the 3 country club pools, 2 of which have hot tubs. She feared the attractions might soon wear off, but the AAC would be stuck picking up the tab for maintenance and utilities. And here's another thing. Who decides on what needs to be fixed and when? $239,000, that's under today's stuff. These guys got hot tubs. In case you don't know, the reasons why they decided not to put hot tubs in any of the country club pools or anywhere else for that matter is because of maintenance cost on the hot tubs. They said back then, they told me personally that it was too expensive to maintain those hot tubs, so they decided not to do anymore. Now all of a sudden they're going to turn this over to us. What are they going to do then? Say, hey, we need all the hot tubs reconditioned. We need all new motors, all new heaters. We need all that stuff redone. And then the $239 swells to $500,000. I don't trust them. AC member Jim Vaccaro said the residents will be getting a new $20 million recreation center, and they might have to live with some inconvenience. What's the inconvenience? One watering hole to another. AC member Don Deacon seemed the most intrigued by the idea and said residents might enjoy the food and hot tubs at the priority pools so much that they sign up to become priority pool members. I suppose that's possible. Not likely. We're not stupid, Don. We know what's there. We've seen them. It's all there in front of you. You can watch. They know. It could be a win-win-win, Deacon said. The AAC asked Deputy District Manager Carrie Duckett to go back to the developer and try to negotiate a more attractive price. The matter will likely appear on the AAC's June agenda. Kempa noted that if the AAC moved ahead with the idea, the 3 priority pools would be open to all residents of the villages, not just residents of the historic side. Well, that's always been the rule here. Everything in the villages is open to all village residents. You ain't changing that anyway. That's like in the charter. Let me just say, if it was me, I'd go back to the developer. I'd negotiate. I'd just simply say, nah, we're not doing that. What else you got? A villager with crack cocaine in her golf cart was nabbed at a Wawa convenience store. Amanda Gale Clay, 40, who lives on the historic side of the villages, was driving a yellow Yamaha golf cart shortly before midnight Monday near BJ's Hole Club when she failed to come to a complete stop at the intersection, according to the arrest report from Sumter County Sheriff's Office. During a traffic stop at Wawa, Clay admitted she was in possession of crack cocaine. She also had Xanax, I don't know what that is, fentanyl, I know what it is, but I don't know what it is. In her possession, a criminal history check revealed she has had previous drug-related arrests. They always have. They always play dumb, but when you check into their history, there's always stuff. Clay was taken into custody on drug possession charges. She was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center on a $13,000 bond. Now we're getting somewhere. Neighbors are upset about a non-matching shingles at a home in the villages. The home is located at 1207 Santa Cruz Drive in the Villa of San Leandro in the village of Santiago. Homeowners attended Friday's meeting at the Community Development District 2 Board of Supervisors at the Savannah Center. All of the houses in Villa San Leandro have brown architectural tiles, while the new roof at 1207 Santa Cruz Drive stands out as a very different gray color, said Villa San Leandro, resident of Jeffrey Shama. Jesus, these names, God. Information presented at the meeting suggested that the manufacturer of the shingles is no longer making the color of the shingles that were put in at the time of the original construction. I'm not sure I believe that, because I had to replace some of mine, and I know there's a little gimmick to it. And this guy probably went to the local Home Depot with a shingle and tried to match it up. And I'm here to tell you that when it comes to the villages, that's that ain't happening. The homeowner had appeared before the Architectural Review Committee and presented photos of shingles that were said to be a close match. The homeowner received approval from the ARC and the roof was replaced. Well, if ARC approved it, I hope he can prove that. And he has that copy. The Courtyard Villa residents are calling for an investigation into the matter. Over 100 houses in our community have uniform roof shingle color, with a sole renegade house at 1207 Santa Cruz standing out in painful contrast. They asked that the CDD2 board require the homeowner to replace or colorize the non-conforming shingles. Shama added that a home at 1221 Santa Cruz Drive re-shingled in November 2023 with the correct color. The board agreed to authorize community standards to look into the situation, which could result in a public hearing. I'm not sure what she's going to do. If he's got proof, if ARC approved it, you guys are dead in the water. A plastic cover on a roof is the latest problem in an abandoned property in the Villages. The home located at 3288 Shelby Street in the village of Summerhill was the subject of a public hearing Friday morning before the Community Development District 3 Board of Supervisors at Savannah Center. The home located at 3288 Shelby Street in the village of Summerhill was the subject of a public hearing Friday morning before the Community Development District 3 Board of Supervisors. The home was owned by Billy and Carolyn Mann, who are both deceased. They purchased the home in 2003 for $118,500. The mortgage is held by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. The problem home has been the subject of 3 previous public hearings due to weeds, overgrown grass, mold on the driveway, and overgrown hedges. In March, a complaint was received about a plastic covering on the roof of the home. Community Standards has reached out to the property management company responsible for the upkeep at the home through HUD. Community Standards has not received a response. The board found that the plastic cover is a deed compliance violation and fines will be imposed if it is not removed. The home has already been fined more than $37,000. None of the fines has been paid. Hey, there's the fixer-upper for somebody if somebody would just put it up for sale. A villager is livid after a ruling last month in a deed compliance hearing in which his paint job was found to be out of compliance. You guys remember this. The home at 1326 Balboa Court in the San Pedro Villas was the subject of a deed compliance hearing in April before the Community Development District 1 Board of Supervisors. The board found that the house had been painted in stages and the colors don't match. The board voted to find the home out of compliance and granted 45 days for the house to be brought into compliance. If it remains out of compliance, a $50 daily fine will be imposed. John Schaefer, who has been living in the homes owned by Patricia Schaefer since 1993, showed up at the Friday CD1 board meeting at Savannah Center. He was clearly angry over the ruling made in the April meeting. Schaefer claimed he had not received any notice of the public hearing, although evidence had been introduced indicating notices had been sent by regular mail and certified mail. He also complained that the camera angles of the photos taken by the Community Standards misrepresented the appearance of the home. She keeps taking the same photo from the same angle at the same time of day, Schaefer said. He said the home was painted in 2018 and said he was dumbfounded as to why it was suddenly a problem, because somebody complained. If you don't know, this is a complaint-based community. Nothing gets done till somebody complains. He also claimed his property had been negatively impacted by the neglected property next door. This is called misdirection. Get your eyes off of me. Look at this guy over here. Schaefer stood at the podium and held up crumbling shingles he claimed came from 1324 Balboa Court, which has been the subject of a separate deed compliance case. Schaefer said the property had been abandoned several years ago. That property is facing $19,500 in deed compliance fines. His fines are scheduled to begin on May 27th. Son, either get it fixed, you're going to have to pay the money eventually, just get it done now. Get the thing fixed. Then you don't have to worry about it. It doesn't make a difference whether you like it or not, just do it, because if you think they're kidding about these fines, they're not. and there'll be a lien on the house. And then when you go to sell it and find out there's $37,000 worth of liens on this house because these fines started 5 years ago, you're going to be going, what? I had no idea. Yes, you have an idea. Just get it painted. It's not that big of a deal. I don't know if we're talking about the triangular pieces there or exactly what they're talking about. My guess is that's what they're talking about. Just call somebody to come out there and paint them. Do it. Paint it yourself. Get a color palette that's got the approved colors on it and use that color and paint them all one color. If you're in an area where you're only allowed to have two colors, I've talked about this. In my district, I can have two colors. The main color of the house and then the trim color. That's it. That's all I can have here legally, unless I get approval. I can already see three colors here, and that could be a problem. So just find out what it is, get a bucket of paint and a brush, and just paint it. Just people argue about some of the stupidest stuff. The chair of the Amenity Authority Committee is worried that increases in funding sought for Community Watch are not sustainable. AAC Chair Donna Kempa, during a budget review this week, noted that the AAC's share of Community Watch's budget soared $1 million last year and will increase by more than $500,000 in the next fiscal year. If we have to keep going up at this rate, I don't think it will be sustainable, said Kempa, who had a career as a certified public accountant auditor in Buffalo, New York, before moving to the Villages. She says she supports Community Watch and believes a valuable service is being performed. However, she is concerned about rising costs. Next year, the AAC's portion of the Community Watch budget is expected to increase to $3.77 million. The $563,685 increase will represent a 14.06% jump over the previous year. The Project-wide Advisory Committee, which oversees amenities south of County Road 466, funds a larger portion of the overall Community Watch budget. I really think we need to look at ways to be efficient, Kempa said. A representative of Community Watch said patrol drivers are checking an average of 16.6 houses per minute. He said Community Watch has found some cost savings by switching to a fleet of mostly hybrid vehicles. Well, as a former trucking company owner, I can tell you that the biggest cost of any transportation business, other than the vehicles themselves, is always fuel costs. That's the way it was in trucking. So we was always looking for a way to increase our fuel average by a mere half a mile per gallon in trucking is tremendous amount of savings. And we're always figuring out a way of getting more out of a driver. I know that sounds terrible, but that's what we do. You have logs, they only can go so many hours, and we find that in our logging situation with customers that we service weekly, that they were keeping our drivers on their lots for as long as 2 and 3 hours while they were unloading a truck. So the driver's sitting there for 3 hours while they're unloading the truck. And so that was a big cost. So we worked really, really hard with our customers to get that cost down by cutting those hours. And when I sold that company, we were down to less than 1 hour of backing in, getting guys unloaded and getting them out of there. So here in the Villages, though, I don't know a tremendous amount about what they do and how they do. I know mostly what they do, but when it comes to the cost factors of it, I'm not big in on it. I know that I would think that in the Community Watch itself, one of the big cost factors, other than the vehicles themselves, it was going to be fuel cost, would be number one, be my guess. Second, it's going to be insurance, especially here in Florida. Insurance rates have been skyrocketing over the last 2 years. So I would go after that. And the Villages has an insurance company. The developer owns a company that has an insurance company that sells insurance. So I would think that they could get what they would call a fleet rate, and they would get an overall advantage there. And then, of course, they got to have their drivers. The drivers under state law have to have certain types of insurance to cover them. I don't know what they are. I don't know what the cost of those factors are, but that might be something to look into. Or, push come to shove, get more drivers to do more miles. I don't know. I think the community watch guys are doing, I'm going to say, 3 8-hour days. I could be wrong about this. You may want to check. 3 8-hour days a week. And then it has something to do with Social Security. You can only make so much, I guess, or whatever. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to step on a limb. Hire older guys. Hire the guys at 65 and older because they don't have a limit on how much they can make that affects their Social Security. Get those guys and get them to work 4 8-hour days a week. Just a thought. Well, how many holes in ones of golf did we get this week? Looks like 4. Kathy Fiore of the village of Chatham was thrilled to get her first hole-in-one. She scored the lucky ace at hole number 4 at the Walnut Grove Executive Golf Course at 141 yards. She hit the ball with her driver, and the shot was witnessed by her husband, Michael, as well as Jim from the village of Alhambra and Greg from the village of Woodbury. Well, congratulations on your hole-in-one, Kathy. A village of Hawkins woman got her first hole-in-one after taking up the game of golf a mere 5 months ago. Sometimes life just ain't fair. Carol Goebel scored the lucky ace on Monday, May 6th at hole number 1 at the Escambia Executive Golf Course. Well, congratulations on your hole-in-one, Carol. Gil Valancourt of the village of Dunedin scored his 4th hole-in-one at hole number 1 at the Volusia Executive Golf Course at 129 yards. You know, that's kind of a blind green, too. When you tee off, the green's kind of on top of a hill. You see the flag, but it's kind of this. You can't really tell if the flag's at the beginning of the green, at the end of the green, so you just kind of just hit it that way. So to get in the hole-in-one there, it's tough. His buddy, Kenny Collins, begrudgingly took the photo as Kenny has frequently played and instructed golf most of his life and never had a hole-in-one, said fellow resident and golfer Jeff Wilner. Well, Kenny, great picture, buddy. Congratulations on your hole-in-one, Gail. Lane Heilman of the village of St. Charles got his first hole-in-one on Sunday, May the 5th. He scored his hole-in-one on hole number 2 at the Yankee Clipper Executive Golf Course at 104 yards. He used a 9-iron, and the shot was witnessed by his wife Cindy and their friends Tammy and Kevin Jones of the village of Pennycamp. Pennycamp's a nice area. Congratulations on your hole-in-one, Lane. Let's do a couple letters to the editor. You guys always like that. Other people's opinions, not just mine. Letter to the editor. I am thrilled that Costco is coming to our area. The problem is they are considering the worst possible area. The traffic would be a nightmare. Somewhere on State Road 44 would make more sense because it is close to Interstate 75 and the Florida Turnpike. That's sent in by Trish Radican from the village of Dunedin. Well, I'll take your word for that, Trish. It does seem like around here people will travel for tens upon tens upon tens of miles to get to a Costco store. I still don't get it. To the editor, very simple. For 30 years, there has been no maintenance building at the Mira Mesa, and the courses have been in great shape until the past few years. Prove for 2 years you can keep the courses in pristine condition, then we can review the building construction. Stop giving away my money that will not put the courses in better condition. That's sent in by Ed Rockstraw from the village of Winifred. Okay, I can't argue with that. Because you realize when they build this maintenance building, this is resident money we're spending here, not the developer's money. They want me to build a $1.7 million building so a contractor, outside contractor, can put his lawnmowers and stuff in it and keep them out of the weather. So I'm simply saying this. If we're doing that, are we charging him rent to put that stuff in there? And if we are we getting the rent or who gets the rent? How's that working out for us? Explain to me why spending $1.7 million for somebody else's equipment is benefiting me in any way. To the editor, I think where they are putting Costco makes perfect sense. This way, we can use our golf carts to get there. More parking spots. We love our golf carts. That's sent in by Roy Schwartz from the village of Summerhill. To be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure where they are putting in that new Costco. I got an idea, but I don't, the field. I should know this, I suppose, but I just really don't. But this guy is exactly right. We love our golf carts here to travel in. So if you can get yourself a piece of property where whatever it is, a restaurant, a grocery store, it doesn't make any difference. If it's golf cart accessible, you're better off here. You'll make a little bit more money. But yeah, if this makes a golf cart accessible where they're at, that's great. I know the letter we just read about her wanting it on 44. We can't drive our golf carts down 44. So you are correct. I do believe that. But remember, over by the village of Richmond, across the street from Brownwood, there's a big area over there that's been set aside for commercial buildings. I don't know if it's big enough for a Costco, but they have an area over there for commercial building, and I don't think they've started building anything in there yet. So we'll see what happens there. So with that being said, I'm tired. I'm wore out. I'm on meds. If I said anything during this nude while on these meds and whatever, I'll just apologize now. We'll just call this the unfiltered news. I cut a lot of stuff out after watching it 2 and 3 times. I thought, I can't say that. I can't say that. I can't say that. You know, so I cut a lot of stuff out. I'm sure I missed a few things. Forgive me. Hope you enjoy the news. So with that being said, be a Patreon member if you're not. We appreciate all of our Patreon members. I got to make some changes, I know. I got somebody's name mixed up. Somebody else wants me to change their last name to something else. I have to go check my emails and things. Hopefully I can get it on this news. If not, it'll be later. So be well, stay safe, be aware, and always remember, I'll see you on the other side.
And don't leave that key in the golf cart.